Perfect. Well, I see there's some students still coming in, but I believe we can start with introductions. So welcome everybody. I'm Simon. I will be your lead for this project here today at Design Day. I'm sure you're all feeling a little stressed, but also I can assure you you'll feel relieved having finished your projects at the end of this session. So I'm actually going to share well, I'll do that after actually. So just note the session is recorded. I mean, I'm sure you've had a lot of recorded session throughout your courses and everything, but for the judges as well, this session is recorded. I was wondering if possible, if our judges could present themselves and so the students kind of know a little bit more about you. We can start with Bernard.
Okay, sure. Thank you and good morning, everyone. I'm Bernard Hershkovich. I'm the CEO of a local software company here in Ottawa, Net Experience. I've been a design judge now for a few times, and it's always very, very interesting. And it's extremely hard to pick winners because most of the teams bring a lot of energy and creative ideas. We have a partnership with the University of Ottawa. We have a joint research project in the area of artificial intelligence with some grad students and a couple of profs. Happy to be here today.
Thank you very much, Bernard. Now, Ben.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Ben Dick, and I work for the City of Ottawa. I've been with the city for about 9 years now in a number of different, mostly data analytic roles, currently the city's cultural mapping research officer. This is my first time judging Design Day, and I'm very, very excited to see what each of the groups has come up with.
Very nice. I see Rola is a little busy right now.
Yeah, we have a five-year-old at school right now. Just bad timing. So I have to leave the classroom with the kids.
No worries. We'll definitely be here when you come back. All right. Okay, I just want to see here. Okay. Okay. So welcome everyone. I'll start sharing my screen here with a slide. 1 second. Good. Okay. So as I've mentioned previously, so these sessions will be recorded. So that's just a little disclaimer there. And then sincerely welcome to everyone. Congratulations on Design Day. Oh, I see Rola. Okay, perfect. Is the alarm still no? Okay.
Yeah, so I'm sorry you need alarms. So I sent them with another teacher so I can stay on list. But I wanted the students to be part of the process. So I am in high school teaching grade 8, presently French immersion. And we do a lot of problem solving, real world problem from locally to globally. And we do the design thinking process. So everything that the students are going through at university, we do that here at the school as well. And we have accessibility to many technologies. And we're working on some virtual reality for a human effect on the planet. And we're going to be publishing that soon too as well. So sorry about the noise, but I'm staying behind, so we won't tell anyone that I'm just staying in the classroom.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Rola. All right. Okay, perfect. So yeah, of course, students, just so you know exactly when you're presenting, I think this is like the one thing I haven't mentioned yet. Check your schedule at this link. I think most of you know it already or have seen it pop up in your Brightspace. Yeah, so without further ado, welcome to the VR project of this Design Day. So It's a very interesting project. I hadn't actually read this description until this morning, I confess. Yeah, so the ultimate goal of this project being essentially to train people on implicit bias and to improve inclusivity by understanding others' points of view. So definitely a very important problem to tackle in this world today. I'm really thrilled to see what students have come up with today. All right, and I see Luis here, my aide joined in. So if anyone has questions, you can either send me a message on the chat or to Luis here. I don't know if you want to rename yourself, Luis, just so people can see.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Perfect, no worries. Okay, great. So does anyone have any questions before we start? No? Okay, perfect. So the presentations, each team will go for 3 minutes, and then the schedule is quite tight today, actually. So we have a lot of people presenting. So everybody has 3 minutes to present, and then we'll have a 5-minute period for questions afterwards. And then the setup and everything after. So we have like a 2-minute buffer essentially between each group. So I just want to check here. Does F11 have everybody here and would be ready to start?
I think it's F11.
Oh, sorry.
Name is kind of weird for this group, but
Got you. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the question. Does F11 have everybody here and is ready to start screen sharing? F11. No, okay, 1 moment. Oh. Okay, perfect. All right. Very nice. Yes, I know I'm 2 minutes ahead, and I know as students, 2 minutes can make a world of difference. Very sorry. All right, well, perfect. Screen sharing works. We can see your screen. And so whenever you're ready.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Honor, and I'm joined with Nicole, Anthony, and Yuteng as Team 1.1. Today, we will be presenting our immersive experience tool, Invisibility. Our EDI training tool focuses on invisible disabilities, and we developed our experience based on ADHD. We wanted to bring awareness to invisible disabilities because since they're not obvious at first glance, they're often overlooked and misunderstood, even though they're very common and usually have large impacts on a person's work and behavior. Our solution will help solve this issue and foster inclusivity by allowing users to immerse themselves in VR and experience some of the symptoms associated with a particular invisible disability. After using our tool, users will be more aware of the social stigma and difficulties people with invisible disabilities experience daily. Based on the project description, we developed the following problem statement. Our priorities for this project were to create an experience that promotes diversity and inclusion, is easy to use, and involves an immersive first-person perspective. Before we began prototyping, we looked at current EDI training programs to identify their strengths. The key thing we took away from this was that including interactive objects and shorter experiences made the products more meaningful and engaging. Our solution improves upon the benchmarked products because it includes more opportunities for users to interact with the virtual world, a voiceover of the character's inner monologue, and guided reflection, which all work to make our product more effective at eliciting empathy.
So now we are going to showcase some videos of our experience. In this home scene, the user can get used to interacting with objects and moving around in VR as they please. This would hopefully help the user be more comfortable in the main experience so that they can really focus on learning about their chosen invisible disability. Now we will present our main office scene where all the tasks would be completed. This clip features an example of a task for an ADHD experience that must be completed by the user, reading a report. To demonstrate each invisible disability in our training tool, the most common symptoms would be added to the basic everyday tasks. For ADHD, this would include distractibility, forgetfulness, having trouble focusing, etc. To showcase these symptoms, there's an inner monologue that replicates the thoughts of a person with ADHD, which will also help guide the user throughout the experience, as you can see here.
Oh yeah, did I remember to take my meds this morning? Oh, coffee. That's a good idea. Maybe I'll grab a cup to help.
Exaggerated auditory and visual distractions are also used to replicate the feelings of a person with ADHD, as can be seen in the video. Tasks would also be chained together based on the invisible disability. In this case, the tasks are distractions in themselves. A person with ADHD could notice a coffee cup on their desk and get distracted from their main task to go get coffee. At the end of our experience, questions help the user reflect on what it's like to have the invisible disability that they have just experienced, which would help generate empathy. Following that, resources for invisible disabilities will be shown. Thank you for listening. Any questions?
I have a question. Thanks for your presentation. Who would be the target, you think, for this tool? Would it be a potential employer or the person itself, which has ADHD or whatever condition you are targeting, or maybe others? Who would be the main target or the main user?
Our target audience would be mostly employers so that they can have an easy and more interactive way to teach their employees and how to interact with people who have invisible disabilities. Because our experience is like framed in the workplace environment, I think that would be the most effective way. It could also be helpful for any students going into like a professional workplace environment to have a better understanding on invisible disabilities before they officially get into that.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Do you see any potential to customize? Maybe that was a short, kind of like a short presentation, but would you be interested? Would you customize it, let's say, for this type of audience or the other? Like if it's for HR or for a coworker or for somebody else? Or do you think it's kind of like a generic tool?
As of right now, I would say it is more a generic tool, just because we haven't had the opportunity to really get super specific about different things. The experience we have developed now is just based on like a general workplace with ADHD. The way we have it set up with like picking a character at the beginning and not fully knowing, there is like an opportunity to expand for the different invisible disabilities. I don't think we hadn't really considered having it changed for different types of users, but we do have an accessibility option which could change the size of like subtitles and change the volume. So I'm sure that we could, like, there's a lot more room for expansion.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, first of all, Nicole, and Honor, for your presentation. That was wonderful. Thinking about, so how you're setting up an experience that's supposed to sort of replicate or help to understand the world as someone with a certain invisible disability may experience it. How did you determine what that world might look like to people with the different disabilities, invisible disabilities that you were thinking about?
So actually, me and one of the other teammates actually do have ADHD or like other invisible disabilities. So we were able to use our personal experiences to find examples of different things. Like when we were coming up with storylines, we were like, what would I be doing if I was in a workplace? How would I be getting distracted? So we did definitely base off of personal experiences. We also did like research about other common symptoms so that it was just like a broader scope, I would say, of the invisible disability, and making sure that we were getting all the common symptoms and not just focusing on specific ones. So we definitely, like, we looked online for different resources and stuff. I talked to like some of my friends who I know have the invisible disabilities, as well as like some of the teammates and stuff. So yeah.
Wonderful, thank you.
Great. Are there any other questions? We still have a little bit of time. No? Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much, F11. That was really great. And congratulations on doing your presentation. All right, well, now we'll move to F21, A Tale of Two Students. If you can start your screen share and ready when you are.
Hi, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
So A Tale of Two Students, a VR experience. Hi, my name is Lucy Amos, and today I'm going to be presenting for Team F21. So when we were first presented with this project, we weren't really sure what we were going to talk about. We were mostly leaning on race. However, listening to the stories from our community as well as reflecting on ourselves, we've decided to go on racism, but most specifically racism experienced as a child. We believe that children are susceptible, and this is when they're most influenced by their environment. Thus, this is when they're going to develop a lot of their ideologies and habits. When we were doing our technical benchmarking, we saw a lot of different VR experiences that dealt with racism. However, they were all tailor-made to the office, and none of them had more than 50% of what we required in our version of this VR game. We wanted to market towards children, not just adults. We believe that with the malleability of children, we could alter their minds and help them develop positive connections with people of color, thus breaking the cycle of generational prejudice. So some stuff that we noticed was that a lot of these were expensive and they were all workplace oriented. So we needed to take matters into our own hands. That's when we came up with our problem statement. We wanted to design a virtual reality experience that was tailor-made towards children, that was cheap, that was affordable, and that was easily accessible, that not only garnered empathy, but was also educational. It focused on racial bias, diversity, as well as other equity and other inclusion factors in order to instill positive connections between children of colors of all races. So our solution was to create a virtual reality-based experience that showed the juxtaposition between two students, thus A Tale of Two Students. This solution followed Ariana and Amir, two students who start school on the same day. However, they have wildly different experiences. This is because Amir is a child of color and Ariana isn't. And thus, as a bystander, the user will follow and witness the mistreatment and treatment of both students while also being able to partake in the storyline. So this is our demo video. I would like you guys to pay attention to the user experience. We wanted to focus on children, so We made the this is a story-based game as well. So we made the user interface, sorry, look similar to that of a normal story-based game that already exists. So it's familiar. We also would like you to take notice of the colors and the environment. We made it colorful. We made the environment vast and expansive, thus to keep the attention of the children who are playing the games. The user-based choices, which you're going to see coming up, will allow for the bystander to make decisions. We did this so that the bystander could explore their own racial biases in a safe and interactive environment while also reflecting on themselves. This user-based choice has feedback, which allows for the user to reflect on what choices they made and why they made it. The dialogue is impactful, but it's simple and mild. The reason for this is because we wanted to we're tailor making it to children, so we wanted them to be able to understand. However, the dialogue contains wording that a child would, type of wording that you would see on a playground. But it does not only tell the whole story. The animations also tell a huge part of the story as well. They're the reason why, they're like the pièce de résistance of why the user would be able to feel empathy. Imagine making a choice that will cause a person to cry. That will definitely garner empathy from the user. In conclusion, we believe that with the right business model and organization, that this product could be instilled in households and schools. It's an educational tool that we believe could be expanded upon and help break generational trauma and help break generational racism and generational prejudice as well. Thank you for listening to our presentation, and any questions?
I have a question. So that's very interesting. For this to be effective, I guess it would need to be broadly distributed, I assume.
Yes.
So would you view this as kind of like a free product, or would you view this as a paid product? And there are pros and cons. If it's free, how do you make money? If it's paid, maybe it's not so widely distributed. How do you see this kind of being able to reach a broad audience, which I think you would need to make this effective?
Well, we're thinking of possibly presenting this product as sort of how a non-for-profit business would present this product. So money will be coming in, but it will be going back into the product for further distribution. It's going to be possibly priced a little bit cheaper, and it's going to be sold in mass or in bulk so that it could be distributed amongst school boards, similarly to the way textbooks and other educational tools are distributed among school boards or households at this time.
Okay, good, got it. So it somehow would be made available to schools and school boards.
Yes.
Okay. And what kind of, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, finish.
Yeah, I was going to ask a quick follow-up. What are the main tools, technical tools that you used in the creation of that?
Could you please clarify on what you mean by technical tools?
Like when you presented the kind of the product, that was based on what software? What did you use for that?
Oh, we used Unity to create this product. It's VR compatible. Well, right now we have not hooked up the API because we hadn't had the proper tools to do so.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question coming from a classroom teacher here, and I have students in front of me listening to your presentations. Unfortunately, we apologize for the fire alarm. I guess that wasn't planned, and as well as leaving the first presentation, which we got the bit of it. My question to you is, will that be presented in different languages for the students?
Yes. Right now, this is just a prototype, but we're looking to make this very accessible around the world. So using dialogue from around, like using a script that could be translated into a different language, because like we said, even though this is focused on a white-centric neighborhood, racism and generational prejudice exists all over the world. So expanding all worldwide is something that we could look forward to as well. So yeah, we could translate it into different languages such as French to make it accessible to like French Canadians, Spanish to make it accessible to Spanish-speaking people, and other languages so it could be distributed across the world.
Oh, Ben, did you have a question?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you, Lucy, for your presentation. And what you're presenting here is an opportunity to share some really powerful stories.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there are lots of different ways to share stories. What is it about VR specifically that you think could be particularly powerful, particularly effective in this case?
Yes, virtual reality is an immersive tool. When you read something, like I'm just gonna like change sort of the narrative. When you read something, it might not be as impactful, but when you put it like the VR set over your eyes and you actually become a part of this world, then everything that you do feels like you're doing it in real life, meaning that your brain might feel as if the consequences in this VR world is the same as the consequences in real life. It's an immersive tool that you yourself could also like relate to, especially because this is in first person as well. So it's like you are making these choices. You are impacting a person, even if it's not a real person, you're still doing something to impact a character or a person.
Thank you.
Oh, Hanan, did you have a question?
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to comment, since I am the client for this project, this project was given to the students as VR for EDI. So they were expected to do an immersive experience for the very reasons that Lucy told you, but they were asked to do it in VR. So this is more of a comment. By the way, great job, Lucy.
Thank you.
Yes, great job. Very, very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, so if that's all for questions, we can move on to the next presentation. So F31, if you can start your screen share, and we're ready when you are.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Right. So hello, this is Team Empathy Through VR. My name is Micheline, and today Mackenzie and I would like to present our product, Greece 2020, that promote empathy towards racism in our society.
So our team created a VR experience based on somebody who actually experienced racism and prejudice in their life, Mr. Giovanni Edwards. So we chose to base this on real events because not only it sheds light into the lives of people who have experienced this, but as designers, we also felt like our users would empathize more compared to a fictional plot.
So our product was made for educational institutions, specifically for post-secondary level, to use as a teaching tool for diversity training. This will help raise awareness about the impact of racism on individuals.
So this product was done all in Unity. In this first scene, we see a young Black man navigating through his first day of school. So beforehand, his mom puts hair grease in his hair to moisturize it. And as the kids found out in his new school, they tried to touch his hair and says a lot of hurtful things to him. So you'll see text on the screen while this video is playing, and that depicts the internal monologue that's going through our character's head whilst hearing and experiencing these things.
How does his mom let him leave the house like that?
He's so out of place here.
Hey, new kid, come over here. I need some grease for my locker.
I want some grease.
So the cage is our portrayal of how in such situations, ignorance can be very isolating. So during the first client meeting, Eddie actually described how he felt when this occurred to him. He described it as feeling like he was trapped in a cage or like an animal in a zoo. So we chose to create this scene specifically because this description from Eddie alone was so impactful. So we felt like bringing this scene into life will truly make our users feel for our character.
I need that grease.
I'm not that different from you. This isn't right.
Why is that? I don't see anything wrong.
We should both be treated as.
So the final scene shows the character being supported and encouraged by the mom. We have added Juneteenth scene to the on this TV screen as an example of the action that has been taken to stop racism. We finalized the scene with a certificate of excellence and a graduation photo of our character, as we can see here, to show that although our character has been through such experience, it didn't prevent him from achieving his goal and being a successful person. So one of the goals we aimed for through this project was to bring Eddie's experience to life. And after presenting this product to Eddie, we believe that we have achieved this goal. Thank you. And this is an overview of our product. Thank you so much for listening. And we are pleased now to hear your feedback and questions.
I have a question. Thanks for presenting. That was a powerful presentation. When you design kind of like the message, obviously you have to take into account the experience of the individual or the individuals. But how do you need to kind of do you have ways to test it to see kind of like and kind of figure out what's the impact and then potentially make changes to the message?
Yep. So during our project, we were in contact with Eddie twice, and we presented what we had to him, and he gave us feedback of like this part felt like how it did when he was experiencing it. And then he told us like to tweak how we should have inner monologue so that he can show like what he was feeling during that moment.
Right. Okay, got it. Thank you.
We have a question. That was a great presentation as well, and it's something that we experience at schools all the time. So this is a real story you took. How many other scenes or other stories you have on racism implemented in your VR, or have you done other than just the one?
So go ahead, Ty, go ahead.
Yeah, so far we only have this story that implement with the VR. Yeah.
Will you then be interviewing other students? How are you collecting those stories? Like, are they coming from university students, or you have stories you've collected data from schools or other people?
So like this actually was based on like a panelist. We were given our Professor Hernan gave us like 5 panelists to base our experiences on. So we got this specific experience from Mr. Edward. But in the future, maybe we'll probably do like surveys or like interviews with other students or people who have experienced like prejudice or racism in their life. We might like do one, like a testing one or like with a group. So like, but for now, this is all we have. So yeah.
Thank you.
And you had a question?
Yeah, I have a comment, and this is for the judges, just so they understand the context. The idea of this project in general was to develop a library of different EDI components for training of possibly students within the faculty or people from outside. The students had a choice. So we started off with a 5 panelists, and the student had a choice of using the panelists' experiences or using a different experience. As a client, I interacted with the students and gave them feedback 3 times, and they had the possibility to connect with the panelists or their own experiences to get feedback every step of the way. So this is the first kick of the can, but the hope is that we create a library that can help training, whether it is for schools, for university, for staff. Again, this is the first kick of the can.
Okay.
And so far, it seems very, very good for presentations. Congratulations. Rola, was there a question or no? No, okay, perfect. All right, well, congratulations, of course. F31, Empathy Through VR, very nice presentation. We'll move on now to F12. If you can start your screen share, we're ready when you are.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our presentation. So we are team F1.1, 1.2, and our presentation is about a product that we named Unitedly Accessible, which I will explain shortly. In the background, you can see a screenshot of our product, which you will see a quick demonstration of in a few minutes when I'm done the presentation. So firstly, we identified a problem for this project. The main thing that really stood out to us is that people with disabilities are often unheard due to lack of empathy towards them. This is an issue, especially on campus, because there's been stagnated improvement in accessibility services, and we wanted to kind of ignite something that would cause some change in our campus. So we realized that based on the project statement given to us, we need something like a mechanism that would promote empathy and consideration for people with disabilities. And we realized that an immersive experience would be powerful. We did our research based on some studies on how powerful it is for promoting feelings. And we realized incorporating VR can be done in a cost-effective and user-friendly way, which was very important for our product. So what we came up with in response to our problem statement is a simple storyline. So it's not too complicated for the user. However, it is complex enough to make the experience more personal in a first-person point of view, as with most of VR experiences. The simple storyline has themes that kind of promote a feeling of frustration, of neglect. You're going through this experience and there's a lot of repetition, and this is what we use to draw out a feeling of frustration from the user. Frustration was focused on simply because we needed a catalyst for promoting empathy, and one of many things that can promote empathy is feeling frustrated when you realize what somebody else is going through on a daily basis. And so why our product? Why Unitedly Accessible? We identified many advantages of our product compared to similar products on the market. There weren't many actually that promote disability awareness on university campuses, which is our focus. But however, there were two that we found that could be applicable. So one of them was equal reality disability discrimination, and the second one was VELSOFT disability awareness self-study guide. Obviously, the equal reality product was not very cost effective. It was not free. Our product is free, made completely through Unity, and we made it tailor-made to the U Ottawa campus, which you will see in the demonstration. It is immersive, personal, and that obviously takes advantage over any study guide, which a user would have to kind of read through and answer questions with, which, as important as disability awareness is, it can be very tedious to go through a study guide, which people don't normally enjoy. So our product focuses on empathy, which is something that certainly encourages dialogue about improving accessibility services on campus. So now we'll move on to our demonstration. I will unshare my screen, and Leo, you can share our demonstration.
Hi, hello. So this is our main prototype, and I'm going to start the demonstration. Go over how it is. The idea here is that we have a student on a render made from Google Earth, and they need to get inside of Tabaret Hall, which is one of the buildings on the university campus. But given that they have a physical mobility disability, they are not able to enter through the main staircase. Now, there's usually an accessible entrance inside, but again, it is not accessible due to, in this scenario, there is construction. Through these, we have a few more of these little sort of encounters, and the idea here is that through these, the player will be forced to ask a person for help and then try to find an alternative entrance, which, due to the construction, has to be taken all the way around the building, which can take a time when you're in a rush, And yeah, by the time they get to the end through this sort of narrow sidewalk, by that time, they're late for what they were trying to reach. In our actual prototype, the idea is that the speed is lessened, but for a presentation, it was simpler to have it a bit more quick. And so that is the main final prototype.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Questions? Yep. If we have questions from the judges or the audience.
So one question, thanks for presenting. I'm sure it's a real, sure it's a big problem for this situation. When you consider the type of disability to incorporate in your product, on one hand, there are physical disabilities, so somebody cannot go up on stairs. But sometimes there are also disabilities which are not physical, like one group was presenting ADHD, and there are many others. How did you figure out which one to pick and what to focus on?
Right. Well, we wanted to focus more on physical disabilities, which reduce mobility. For me, mainly because my oldest brother has a level of paralysis in his lower spine, and so he has some issues walking. And so when I thought of something that I thought would speak to me, and I thought I could have some ideas that would work for this project, I thought of him, which is why we chose to focus more on mobility reduction and physical disabilities.
Okay, that's a great, that's a great reason, because you have kind of like first-hand experience with this matter. And is this something that you found in the campus to be kind of like, is kind of like an isolated scenario that you found? Somebody who just from administration who didn't do their job in putting a sign, or do you think it's kind of like a broad issue?
Well, it's definitely a broad issue. I was speaking with my brother. I'm not from Ottawa, so he's never been here. But one thing he did tell me was the metro system in Montreal, where he lives, it's very problematic, and he can't take the subway because it's only just straight stairs. There's no there's barely any elevators or automatic stairways, and so it's an issue that's very, very prevalent pretty much everywhere. And we thought to use Tabaret Hall because being students at the University of Ottawa, it's a location that we're familiar with, and it's that way we could hope to speak more to the student community on campus.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Very nice. Are there any other questions at all, really quickly? Judges, do you need a little more time in between presentations to fill out the Google Forms? I'm just wondering here, getting a feel for if it's all good. Yeah.
All good for me. I have
all
one
good?
comment for this.
Sure,
group, not
absolutely.
really a question, but just a comment. I think you chose a fantastic example to show, and I could kind of picture everyone. It's one I think almost anyone can relate to. You're running late for a class or for a meeting, and so it becomes very easy then, I think, to empathize with someone who is in that same situation, except that they can't just go up those stairs to get into that building that they need to get into. And then when they do follow the signs to the accessible entrance, it leads them to a construction site they can't get around either. I think that's you chose a fantastic example. It's a very easy one to relate to. So great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice. Perfect. All right. Well, congratulations. Sorry, F12. And we'll now move on to F22 for their presentation. You can start your screen share and we're ready when you are.
Hi there. We're just going to start our screen share. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So, hi, my name is Sabine Ellison, and today I will be presenting with one of my teammates on behalf of our team for our Immersive VR experience project, which aims to teach the user empathy. So we decided to focus on the issue of kind of an intersectional issue about women of color who work in the field of STEM and the kind of discrimination that they might experience in that field because of both their gender and their race. So here you can see some statistics about women in the US who work in STEM who've reported different experiences, and one of the ones that our project kind of focuses on is being mistaken for administrative or custodial staff and not being taken seriously and assuming that they are working in that field. So we came up with this problem statement as a result of the design prompt, our client meeting, and our interpreted needs of the client, as well as the kind of experiences that our team has had. And then we looked on the market for different kinds of current solutions that aim to teach a user empathy, but we didn't really find anything that focused on the particular issue that we wanted to, which was the experience of women of color, particularly in the workplace environment. So we did some benchmarking and looked at these current solutions and decided to learn from them and keep some of the elements that they have in our project, but ultimately we had to come up with a lot of things on our own and kind of think outside of the box about what we wanted our solution to this issue to be.
So our project is basically 2 point of views. So it starts with a woman of color in engineering who is going to an awards show, and it's taking place in an elevator because we wanted to choose a neutral environment that anyone could relate to. So basically the woman, it's her POV to start, and a man walks into the elevator and just assumes that she's custodial staff and tells her basically to use the other entrance. And then the user gets to choose how they'd like to respond, which you'll see in our demo. And then for POV 2, it switches over to the point of view of the man that walks into the elevator, and then you get to choose what to say to the woman. So it basically teaches the user empathy through showing them the experience from one point of view and then switching perspectives, and then you get to experience the situation as someone who would have been discriminating against her. And you can go to the next slide to show. So I'm not sure if audio will work through Zoom. Oh, I think it did. Okay, perfect.
Sorry, you must be in the wrong place. This is the High Achieving Engineering Students Awards entrance. The employees.
Oh.
Actually, I'm in the wrong recipient. I'm pretty sure I'm in the right place. I came in first after all.
Wow, what a way to brag. They probably just gave it to you to fill in their minority quota anyways.
So then it switches to the man's point of view and you can choose what to say to her.
So tell me, are you excited for the awards show to start?
Yes, I'm so nervous, but we've worked hard to be here and we deserve it. Congrats.
So that's basically just a run through of the entire game. If the user, oh sorry, you might want to pause it. If the user were choosing a situation, they click the button, it brings them to the corresponding scene, and then you get to flip perspectives and see it from the other side. So thank you, that's pretty much our whole project, and we'll take any questions you have now.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
If there are no others, I will ask a question. How did you decide to use a scene in an elevator? Why elevator and why not something else? Was it what brought you to that?
So we were really looking for a neutral environment that anyone, even if you're not an engineering student necessarily, could relate to. And we actually walked through campus and tried to find a few different points. And we ended up at the STEM or site building, sorry. And we ended up finding that that's a likely scenario to occur. And also, if you're in an elevator, you're kind of boxed in with the person. It's not like you can leave and you might feel threatened. And it kind of introduces an entirely new environment. And it's also an environment, like I said, that anyone can relate to. So we ultimately decided on that because it seemed like the right call.
Okay, and this product or this tool would be, how would you distribute it and to who? How can you get it to the audience you intend to, and who's that audience?
So our intended audience is university age students. So if we were to distribute it, we would be able to pack it up just as a game and send it to universities. Most likely, since it is a VR game, we would want to target places that have access to a virtual reality headset. You can also use it through Unity, but the best way to use it is through a VR headset. But we definitely wanted to focus on university age students because that's what we relate most to. That's what all of our friends are. So when we were testing it and sending it out, we ended up sending it to a lot of university age students for their feedback. So it just seemed to work the best for us.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
I have a question. How did you why did you choose this particular experience, this specific particular experience?
So this is actually an experience that one of our group members has had, and then we tweaked it to be a little broader. But basically we were talking amongst our group and also researching and talking to other people outside of scenarios they might have experienced in terms of discrimination. And we found that it's actually quite a prevalent issue that people will assume a person of color is custodial staff or an employee or someone that works there, even though they actually belong there just as much as anyone else. And so we actually thought this was quite an interesting issue to relate to engineering because just as we showed through the statistic, it definitely shows that not only people of color, but women of color in the STEM field are specifically targeted by this issue. And since we're all in engineering and STEM, we decided that this was an issue that we cared about and would like to combat, basically.
Yeah, no, I totally get as a woman of color in STEM myself. So well done. I didn't pay attention whether you have anything that explains in the experience or not, in a sense that a reflection piece or an explanation piece, because it's, you know, my feeling is that somebody who has never experienced this might say, oh, that would never happen. But you have told me it happens. I know very well that it does happen. My point is there any sort of a reflection piece, or is there any, at the end, something that says this is based on a true story, or, you know, that might be
Yeah.
useful?
So in our original design of the full prototype, it's kind of hard to show through Zoom just because it's just a video. But we do plan to input like a voice at the end that's kind of a different voice from the other two characters that says, depending on your choice at the very end of the game, you made this choice, this is how it impacted the person, and in the future you might want to reflect on this. So that's definitely something that we'd like to implement into the game, and maybe even putting in that it was a real experience. That would be a good thing as well to add on to that, but we definitely have that in our game for sure.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Just one question. Well, first of all, thank you for your presentation, and excellent job and really great idea. You really went a step beyond by thinking not just about how to show the experience of someone encountering biases based on their gender or race, but to also, you know, give someone an opportunity to be in the position of the perpetrator of that, and give them an opportunity to reflect on how they might behave differently in the future. How, from the testing that you did, you mentioned doing some testing. Did you find that that was actually effective? Were some of the people you were using in your testing perhaps changing their approach based on that experience?
Yeah, so basically when we, oh, I think I'm echoing, okay, there. So originally when we tested it, before we even made the prototypes or anything, we wanted to make sure that the story was solid. So we actually ended up filming our group members acting out the situation in an elevator before we actually built it, just to make sure that it was a good plan and that people actually empathized with it, because the overall goal was to teach people empathy. So if they didn't even like the story, we didn't want to start building a product that didn't work. So we ended up sending it out to a bunch of university age students, and we got a lot of really good feedback through a form. And they actually did let us know that they did feel that the experience did teach the user empathy. And they also gave us some really great recommendations as far as the actual script, and as far as we had audio in the background originally. So they said, okay, make sure that you can only hear the voices. We don't want any elevator music. But overall, they did have a really great response to it. So that was really great.
Great, thank you.
Awesome, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. That was really good. If we can move on to F32. Yeah, I think we're doing good on time, just making sure. So you can start your screen share and we're ready when you are.
Okay, yeah, looks like we're ready. All right, good morning, judges. Good morning, client. Good morning, lead. Hi, I'm Jason, and we're Empathy Flicks, where empathy can be experienced realistically. So our client is looking for a library of tools for equity, diversity, and inclusion training, also known as EDI. So introducing Empathy Flicks, a platform to allow the creation of future EDI training tools using real live video, as this screenshot shows. This allows complete freedom to design and add more tools over time. Included is a template and a demo scenario, so others can create their own experiences. So our template explains how to build a scenario. We've tested it with 2 rounds of surveys to verify its effectiveness. And so it has 2 sections, the storyline and the video. So in order for the template to work, there's some characteristics to make the story relatable and realistic, which we will show through our demo scene. We based this scene off the real life events of Dania Manderson, a tenured teacher in a wheelchair and was denied a position due to this, despite being qualified. However, the user doesn't know this. They think they're just going into a regular job interview, so it ends up being a shocking experience. So we're going to switch to our demo now. So here is a demo scenario, which is roughly 2 minutes in length.
Okay, so let's start off with your qualifications for the job. What grades are you able to teach?
So my colleague here is able to click buttons and interact with the interviewer and listen to the audio, read the subtitles. But none of the options will lead to a happy ending, unfortunately. So we'll switch back to our slides. You also may have noticed the visual, audio, and interactive aspects of our experience, which is the second half of our template. The best videos that convey empathy are live action scenes because it conveys facial expressions, body language, and sound that only come from real life videos and are hard to replicate with 3D models. So because there's also technology to make stereoscopic videos, we can watch these videos in 3D in VR. So it feels like you're actually there in the moment in time. However, we don't have a VR headset for you guys to put on today, so we're only just going to watch this in 2D. However, you can still look around. So Aura, try looking up, side to side, and down. So there's still that freedom of movement. As a bonus, it's a lot easier to record a video than it is to make 3D models of everything. So it allows for endless creative possibilities to make these VR EDR tools. So Empathy Flicks has created a tool that will not only solve our client's problem, but is able to be expanded with other video recordings by following our template. Thank you very much. Any questions?
I have a comment and a question. So I think focusing on a platform, I found that to be really, really good. Because you create not one situation, but you create an infrastructure for being able to plug many scenarios into it. What made you go into that direction?
Yeah, so funny enough, I forget who mentioned it, but we heard someone saying like, we're looking for a way to, well, we're looking for a way to be able to create potentially more EDI training tools. So we're just kind of getting some experiences and seeing what works and what may not work. So then that just kind of gave us the idea of, hey, what if we come up with a way to find out if these things could work or not work. So if these training tools will be effective or not. And so that just kind of like escalated into creating this template and then that sort of thing.
And how did you test it?
Yeah, so since it's quite like complex, we're dealing with emotions here, we're dealing with many aspects. The only real way that seemed tangible to do this was through trial and error. So we did 2 rounds of surveys. If we had more time, we probably would have done more. But we built something, we gave it to a bunch of people in our target market, or sorry, our target audience, and then had them try it out. And then they gave us feedback. We asked them questions on pretty much everything, how they felt, that sort of thing. And so kind of started building through that.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Hanan, do you have a question?
No, I don't. I have a question, but I am actually keen to try those things after after all this is finished, because I feel that the 3 minutes is not sufficient for really experiencing it. So you're going to hear from me later.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Well, I'll second that. 3 minutes is definitely not sufficient, but a nice little introduction. Great presentation, so thank you for that. Sorry if I missed this. Who was your target audience?
Yeah, so we decided to go with University of Ottawa students for now. I think yeah, we just wanted to narrow it a little bit more, but we can definitely broaden it for sure in the future. It can be used for pretty much anyone, any sort of EDI training. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
That's very good work indeed. So just making sure one last time, last call for questions. Questions from the audience are also welcome, if ever there are some. No? Okay, perfect. Well, thank you again, F32. We'll now move on to F13, if everybody's there. You can start your screen share and we're ready when you are.
Hello, everyone. We're team 1.3. We want to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to stand up here and explain to you the design we have. We're a group of 3 people, Jason, Isaac, and Cedra, and I'm Cedra. I'm going to start off by explaining the project's goal in general, which has been repeated by now, which is to have a VR experience for a user that will allow to have more awareness and more user empathy and experience the different discrimination that a different group of people are facing in Canada, which has been for years and years now. And this problem and this experience is going to raise awareness, is going to have more education in the community, and we'll have a more stronger Canada, more educating Canada, and more bigger Canada that we'll have through this experience. I'm going to start off by, since we need to choose a certain group of people, our team chose Indigenous people, and we specifically touched based on the pipeline fight that that Indigenous people have been fighting for years and years now, which is a bare minimum right to have a clean water that every human being should have. I'm gonna start off by explaining the storyline that we're gonna have. Our storyline is gonna start at a protest game, but the user is first gonna be at a house, and he's gonna be flipping through the TV, and all of a sudden a breaking news is gonna show up at the TV, explaining the protests that have been facing in Canada, which is about that was held by Indigenous people. The curiosity of that user is gonna be pushed off, and will decide to go to the protest. And when the protest is going to be by a lake at the mountain, and the house is going to be down. Once the user reached the mountain, it's just going to observe and notice the muddy lake and the polluted water that it's in there. The user now has the option to choose different dialogue. And once the different dialogue have been chosen, he or she or the user in general going to go and ask the protest certain questions. And depending on the dialogue they have chosen, a different responses and different answers are going to be pop up. And through this, the person's going to have the opportunity and the experience of understanding why Indigenous people are fighting for this simple right, and what is the reason, what is going to happen, who is going to have the lead to solve this problem, and all the W questions basically. So again, this is going to have more awareness in the community of explaining this. This is like a line showing the simple way, which is going to have the target of the project again, which again is the awareness and respect to other people's rights. Now, Isaac is going to take off and explain the rest of the thing.
Okay. So when we were benchmarking or comparing designs, we were able to pick a couple of games, and we did really like a certain game, which was Detroit Become Human. As you can see, benchmarking it scored very high. So we just decided to think to ourselves, how could we build off of this game, take our own spin on it, and, well, not to say make it better, but how to make it more applicable and whatnot. So the game design is right here. We can see that we designed a terrain, and there's a pool of water and a runoff to illustrate your surroundings. You will spawn first in a room with your TV, as it says, as we mentioned before. You will first see news articles, and then you will try to satisfy your curiosity by going over and exploring the area and the protest yourself. And we also have dialogue that you are able to speak to and interact with some protesters, hear their stories, hear their opinions. And yes, that is our game. So with an in-game demonstration now, Jason is going to share his screen. Let me stop sharing my screen. Yes, Jason doesn't have his voice, so I will be reading over as he demonstrates. Okay, so as you open up the game, you will spawn into a house with a TV. The TV is news regarding the recent protests, and you will watch it. It has audio. I'm not sure if Jason can show that. If not, that's okay. After you watch these news articles, your curiosity will overcome you, and you decide to go and attend the protest yourself on the mountains by a lake. So after close examination, you will realize that the lake is actually polluted and that the water is coming downstream to your house. We can maybe explore that later. So you then go around and ask some of the protesters who are the NPCs why they are protesting. You have different dialogues to choose from, and so as you ask them different things, or as you tell them say different things to them, they will respond differently to you. And most are based on real testimonies and real facts. So as you can see here, you can talk to him, and this is like a simulated student, and he will provide you with some facts, and hopefully you will be able to learn something from that. And we aim to create an immersive experience for the end user to be in the shoe of natives fighting for their freedom and their community, or just a bystander or an ally who is coming in to help fight. And yes, if time allows and future grants are approved, we plan to expand our game while maintaining our standards as a commitment to our customers. Yes, okay. Thank you for listening to our presentation.
Thank you very much for the presentation. We don't have much time for questions, but if you have any, judges, audience, floor is all yours.
One quick question would be, like in some of the projects, it was clear that they were targeting a university and so on. Like, who would be the target audience in this case, in your project, and what would be the best way to reach your target audience?
Okay, so we had originally planned for this to be for your peers, and yes, we planned that it would be mostly for the university and for people like us or our age who are looking to know or learn more about what's happening over there.
Okay, so it's for university students or members.
Yes, that's right.
I think how we're gonna target them is how we're gonna reach them is through the internet. We could set up like a website, and then people can check out the website and download the game to try it themselves to experience the like what indigenous people face every day. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent presentation. I think you've hit on something that's potentially quite powerful here. You're effectively creating an opportunity to step into the news. You're watching a newscast, and then you actually enter that world and get to experience that story from a perspective that you may not have considered before, actually immersed in that world. I'm almost wondering, so this is maybe more of a comment than a question, but you can respond to it if you want. But maybe the media could be your customer. I could picture CBC, for example, wanting to buy a product like this that could create an opportunity for their viewers to actually, through a VR experience, be able to actually step into a news story and become immersed in that story and experience it from a different perspective. I'm wondering what you think about that.
I do like that idea. Actually, I did not think of that. Yes, thank you. That is a good idea.
I also have a suggestion for that, because we are integrating a lot at schools for the Aboriginal people experiences, and that's integrated in all the curriculums here. And in high school, they also have special English also classes that focuses on the authors, the cultures, and all schools. We do land acknowledgement on a daily basis, so there's a lot going on. So also recommendation that could be also distributed to school boards.
Thank you for your comment. We'll definitely consider your suggestions. Thank you.
Very nice presentation. Thank you very much. Do we need any more time to fill out those Google Forms, judges, or good? Okay, perfect. All right, well, without further ado, I believe the next one is F23. If you can turn on your screen sharing, and we're ready when you are.
Hello, my name is Natalia. I am part of TeamSpeak Easy 2.3, and this is our design picture empathy tool. So our task was to develop an EDI tool, and the importance of EDI training is to achieve a more pleasant culture and environment for everyone, and that's done by creating awareness and understanding towards minority groups and the adversities they may face, which in other words means developing empathy towards them. Now let's talk about how our tool develops such empathy. So first of all, to develop our tool, we looked at similar products and we looked at what they did well, what they lacked, and we used that as a foundation, as a base to kind of guide us on to the design process and to see what to add and what to tweak on our own tool. So now our design tool, our EDI tool, what sets us apart? So let's start with the main topic. So we chose linguistic discrimination, which is a type of discrimination that's often overlooked and lacks representation. Even though Canada and U Ottawa are official bilingual country and university. And in addition to that, Canada welcomes over hundreds of thousands of immigrants each year, which may not speak the language or maybe have an accent. So they may experience this type of discrimination. Now let's talk about our project story. And can you just go quickly back on that slide? And so it's based 100% on real life experiences from our families. We did surveys, and we also did a compilation of TikToks that were relevant to the topic. It consists of short, concise scenes to keep the user engaged, and so it's easy to follow along. And we've already done a lot of testing. We got a lot of positive results, and we can conclude that our story is accurate, relatable, interactive, and most important, it conveys a strong, powerful message. Now, the next steps, U Ottawa Latin American Heritage Club has actually already expressed some interest in doing a collab where it would be like an event where they can showcase our VR. And in terms of the actual prototype, it would just be continuing to tweaking, improving the Unity aspects. So now on the next slides, you'll see kind of how the story actually breaks down into scenes. And we're gonna go over to Noe that's gonna show us a little bit about one of the scenes.
So as soon as you enter the game, we get this kind of main page. We can either get the option to quit right away, play, or go to an about page. The about page kind of gives the rundown of the purpose and the background of the story, but since we're crunched for time, we're going to kind of get right into the game.
No, I just think that it's showing the slideshow.
Oh, interesting. Stop share. Okay, I'm just going to run it through Unity then, because that wasn't working for whatever reason. Is it showing now? Can anyone confirm? Do you guys
We're
see
not
it?
seeing anything.
Oh Lord. Share screen. Go. I don't know what's going on. Share. Okay, let's try this again.
This is good.
We can see now.
Can you see now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so when we first enter the game, we get to this main page where we get the option to play, an about page, or quitting. So we're gonna quickly run through the about page, which kind of gives the rundown of the project and the background of what the goal is. From here, we can go into the game where we've established multiple interactions with a couple different NPCs, and the player doesn't actually know who they're going to interact with. So if we go to this first interaction, the stranger is met with this, or the player's met with this scenario. So who they're interacting with shows up at the top of the screen. So in this case, it's a stranger, and they give you the breakdown of the scenario. Now on the bottom, right below this, where the scenario is popped up, we get the user can scroll through different options. In this case, if we click the first option and they choose to let it slide, the conversation ends and they walk away. But there are 3 other options. The user is able to go back and change how they would decide to interact with them. So let's see what happens when they decide to talk to a friend about what they just encountered. They get this whole other scenario where they get into a bit of an argument with their friend because they get upset that they were never corrected in the past. Furthermore, through the game, we can go and interact with other characters in different scenarios, right? So this time you're talking to a friend and it's a different scenario. You're struggling to find a word and you don't know what to do. So the player has 2 options. They can either go on with not being able to find the right word, or they can just mispronounce the word and see what the outcome is. So if they choose to mispronounce the word, they get given this scenario where their friends kind of laugh at them or with them, but they're not sure in the end if they were laughing at them or with them. So they kind of leaves them second guessing. If we choose to interact again in a different way and you can't find the right sentence, you end up with a completely different scenario again. I think that's good for the demonstration right now. Natalia, do you have anything else to add?
No, that's all. If you have any questions, we also have the whole story breakdown on MakerPop. So if you wanna take a look at it, we have all the scenarios on there.
So a question would be, not to ask the same question all the time, but so a different one would be, tell a little bit how you tested this with your audience, what kind of feedback you got, and how did you incorporate the feedback into what became the product?
So we did quite a bit of testing on the story. We had a story baseline first, and we did testing with a Facebook group that is for graduate and undergraduate students from University of Guelph. And they kind of gave us a feedback of like, have you experienced one or more than one of these situations? And they said most of them said yes, and they kind of gave us a feedback on what other situations they've experienced. And then once we had the actual dialogue, we shared it via text on social media. We've already done it with 25 people, and we at the end we asked them if they had experienced one of them, if they have experienced one of the situations described, then if to rate just the interactivity level. And then if anything stood out to them, we wanted to see if our VR, if our story like really conveyed us message and taught people something. And then just overall comments. And then we got really good positive feedback. We got a 4.3 in interactivity level. And we got all the people saying like, oh, like these parts stood out to me, or these I never thought these could happen before. And yeah, so that's where we can conclude that it was relatable and interactive.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience, maybe? Oh, Ben?
Just have one quick question. Great
that
presentation.
was really good. Can I just interrupt? Sorry, because I'm going to go mute in a minute. The students really enjoyed this one, though, and they can really relate to this because we talk a lot about this.
Thank you, Rola, for that comment. Ben?
Yes, so thank you for your presentation. Just one question. You'd mentioned collaboration with the Latin American Heritage Club, I believe it. So I'm just wondering what you see coming out of that collaboration and how that's going to work.
So yeah, they touch base with us while we were doing like the testing phases of the story, and they really liked the story. They actually, one of the leaders tried the story and really liked it. So it would be kind of like an event where people from both Latin club, and they kind of also do like events where they kind of include people from other countries and Canada. So it's not like really like concentrated just Latin. So I think they're just trying to showcase like their own experiences, since as a Latin person myself and I know other Latin people have experienced some of the situations described. So I think they just want to share that situation. I mean, they also share like their food, their culture. They're also trying to share these experiences that may not be super nice, but.
Great, thank you. That sounds like a very potentially a really great opportunity.
I think I forgot to mention one more thing. We did write the stories in multiple languages, and the game can easily be switched up to enter into a French version of it instead of just English. And because of the way the game was made, it's easy to switch it to other languages if we were to have someone come on board who knew other languages.
Rola, you had a question?
Hi, so my name's Amira, and I was listening to your presentation, and I was just wondering if you guys were to further develop the game, do you think that you would make it so the character could like understand what people are saying about them? So like, if they were laughing at him, do you think that maybe he could like understand that?
The way it's set up right now is very text-based, as it's a bit of a prototype. So it kind of does show up like, oh, this is what happens as you're walking away. These two people interact and they say this. In an ideal situation for the final product, we would include stuff like facial expressions. So you would physically be watching the characters laughing at you, or, you know, making weird looks when you say something that they don't understand fully.
I'll just also add here that an extremely important thing about this project was, well, this particular project that we've completed is trying to create like an emotional connect. As we've seen with the benchmarking, one of the most important aspects is the connection between the user themselves and the scenario that they are put into.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, now that's all the time we have. If we can move on to F33, we're ready when you are.
Okay. So hi there, I am Bennett, presenting on behalf of Try and Seek. You can likely guess from my name that the problem that we seek to solve. We're challenged to create an immersive experience that educates people on injustices that those of different race, gender, sexuality, and ability face. We chose to tackle discrimination against people of the LGBTQ+ community. Feeling empathy towards someone who you don't share many experiences with is difficult, so it's important that we do this better than current options on the market. There are other applications and products that we researched that have similar goals as us, but they're not as focused or specific as we are, so they generate less empathy than our product. So we started with just mouse and computer-based movement in Unity, but we were also able to partially integrate virtual reality into our experience using Oculus. One thing we were also made sure to test for was nausea, based on the motion sickness that you can experience while wearing a headset, but none of the people we tested on had any side effects of nausea. You then move, you and your couple move to this fancy restaurant scene where you're met with disgusted looks from the other guests as you enter. And per feedback we received while developing, we've added more animated reactions, as well as background noise to make the scene feel more realistic. And then the waiter comes to your table and asks if you two are gay, and you wonder why that matters. And he says the restaurant has a certain standard to uphold and that you're making some of the other guests uncomfortable. And so now you, being uncomfortable, are given the option to stay silent or to make a scene and defend yourself. Our goal of this is to show how tough it can be to stand up for yourself in public settings, even if you know that you are in the right. We then have an end screen where you are, you then have an end screen where you're prompted to reflect, and you can sort of think about the impact it would have if a stranger were to stand up for you in that situation. And you can run through the scene again to see how things unfold if you react differently and introspect. By placing the user in the victim's shoes, our product broadens our perspective and knowledge on those who face discrimination. We accomplish this through an aesthetic and user-friendly virtual reality experience. Thank you for your time, and we open the floor to questions.
So I would have a similar question to the one that I asked to the previous presenter. I'm curious how you test this kind of message, and how do you incorporate the feedback into the product?
So this class has actually been very helpful for receiving feedback. We've had multiple presentations with Anon, with panels, with other classmates, with lab TAs. And so we were able to get a lot of feedback from them. One, Sandra was a part of the panel who is gay, and she has experienced very similar, or pretty much exactly the situation. So we're able to receive feedback from her. to integrate into the game. For example, she said that the reactions that you get when you enter a restaurant aren't always subtle. They can be very, very noticeable. And we've also sent out versions of the game to like some peers, friends, roommates, whatever, and received feedback from them. And some feedback from that we integrated into our game was the background noise and music to make the game less boring and feel more realistic, like you're actually in that setting.
Okay, and does this work only with Oculus?
We've only tested it with Oculus. I believe if we had other headsets, we would be able to integrate it with that as well. I don't think that would be a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Well, very good presentation. Are there any questions from the audience? No? Okay, perfect. All right, well, thanks again, F33. That was really good. Now we can move on to F34. You can start your screen share, and we are ready when you are.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brandon, and I will be presenting for Team Hot Wheels Group 3.4. So what's the problem that users face? People in wheelchairs often get their problems overlooked, especially when it comes to building design. Some of the problems include the size of the wheelchair and inaccessible or unreachable locations. Our game will increase empathy towards wheelchair users and decrease the discrimination they face. To use our game, all you need is a VR headset and a PC for connection. When researching other solutions, we could not find any that met our criteria. However, we came across Dysphoria, which aims to promote empathy while completing short objectives, and Wheelchair Sim, which meets our needs in terms of immersive experience, however, has no intention of promoting empathy. So what our product provides. So our product provides real-life wheelchair interactions and highlights some of the challenges they face, and NPCs that contrast between people and in a wheelchair without one. So why choose us? Our product is a combination and improvement of the two previous solutions, as it includes the immersive experience tool of the VR wheelchair game, and also has the implementation of empathy within the Dysphoria game. Now we will look at some of the in-game obstacles users will face in our game. The narrow hallway is NPCs with that are blocking the user. A snowy ramp that has low friction, so it's hard for the user to get up. Tables that are too close to each other that block access to NPCs moving around in the building that users will have to navigate around. These obstacles show that even if a building seems to be well designed with access to it, for example, ramps towards the building, they can also face many obstacles that may not be obvious to users. Now we will go on to a short demo of our movement mechanic.
So since you guys don't have a VR, I'm going to basically try and show you what it's like in VR. By using my own VR headset. If you give me a second. All right. So I removed the NPCs from this simply because my PC can't handle it. So I'm gonna really just be showing you the movement mechanic of the wheelchair because we find it's the most important part of our game. And it really empathizes how hard it is for someone in a wheelchair to be moving around. So if I were to go to this ramp over here, then I wouldn't be able to go up it. I would just be able to go to it, and then it would stop me. And then I'd have to find an alternate route over by the stairs over here. And we made the in-game pretty snowy. So I can't move the wheelchair very fast because it's snowy. And I'm always going to be looking down just because I'm simply not used to moving a wheelchair, but someone that's more used to using a wheelchair than me would be much better at moving around in this game than me. Yeah. But this is basically what it looks like in game.
Yeah, so that's concludes our presentation. Thank you. Any questions?
So compared to other use cases, what made you choose this one?
So we chose this one because we found that we could, since it was a VR project, we thought that this would best demonstrate how it feels in VR rather than like telling a story. People would actually have to interact with the environment in the wheelchair to feel how it feels to be in a wheelchair. And we're hoping that the user says like, man, I feel bad for someone in a wheelchair. I hope to help them somewhere in the future. But there are things like in the game here, if I scroll around, if you go inside the building, there are tables that are at like the right height for someone in a wheelchair to just like slide in. So it doesn't only show the negatives of being in a wheelchair, it shows the positives as well.
And how do you expect to reach your audience?
So to reach our audience, we're trying to market towards building designers and maybe employers to really improve the design of new buildings and really take into account how wheelchair users will be using this building, using their building.
Okay. Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Very nice. Are there any other questions?
Sure, just quickly, thank you, Nick and Brandon, excellent presentation. And I think this could be very, very powerful. I think the experience of the game actually stopping you when you encounter an obstacle that you wouldn't be able to get past as someone using a wheelchair, I think that could be a very powerful experience for the users. You mentioned so focusing on buildings that appeared to be well designed, but where there clearly were obstacles that wheelchair users would encounter. Did you have any particular buildings in mind as you were thinking about that, where you've noticed that there are some very clear obstacles there that maybe aren't well thought about?
We did look around at the campus around. We obviously came around Taberry Hall, like the other group had in their presentation, and we found that there are a lot of obstacles that wheelchair users face. And we got feedback from one of our client panel, and it was Isabella. She told us to like go around, just feel like you're walking in a wheelchair user's experience and see what obstacles you may have come across. And that's what we did. And we found, yeah, there's lots of obstacles.
Yeah, we thought the office building had the most amount of things that could show the positives and the negatives of someone in a wheelchair. So most office buildings will have a wheelchair ramp as well as stairs for people to walk up. And then there are things like elevators that show another solution for people in wheelchairs for them to travel, and then people using the stairs to get up to other parts of the buildings.
Thank you.
Very nice. Thanks again. It's a very nice presentation. All right, now off to our last group for this category, F25, if you want to share your screen, and we are ready when you are.
Hello. Okay. Sorry. All right, so here's our presentation. Hello and welcome to our presentation about our VR experience called Running on Empty. At the start of the semester, Professor Annis asked us to develop a VR experience to develop empathy. We decided to focus on the invisible disability that is depression. From the initial client meeting, we came up with this problem statement. Upon further development, we made a pitch to Professor Annis about our design, and her feedback was to ensure that we contact people directly affected by depression to validate the accuracy of our VR experience. So first, we filtered the client's needs into a list of design specifications, running from how immersive the storyline is to the cost and video quality. From then, we looked for already existing games to see how they compared to our design specifications. We looked at the strengths and weaknesses of to design our own VR experience. We were looking for games with education on minorities, so they all met that criteria. Aside from that, they all had their own strengths and weaknesses. Please Knock on My Door was made in our desired game engine. Depression Quest was easy to navigate, and Life is Strange 2 had good video quality and many language options. We took all of these qualities and tried to make our VR experience include the best of all of our benchmarking. All right, now I'm going to stop sharing and pass it over to Anthony. All right, so this is our VR experience currently being demonstrated. So first, the player starts out in front of the school and is met with the background of the character so that they can understand what the player is, or what the character is going through. So the player is a first-year university student who, due to incoming stress, is met with difficult decisions of how they want to spend their limited energy caused by their depression. So the first scene, you can see the energy bar in the corner, and that's just indicating how much energy they have left to spend and everything. But the first scene, the character is in their room and they can clean up, and just to show how you can interact with the environment and all that kind of stuff. And then they are met with a decision if they want to spend time working on their test that they have coming up, or if they want to socialize or scroll on their phone. Obviously, the socializing is going to take a lot less energy, but the studying and revising will result in a better grade. And then they are met with the consequences of which choice that they choose. Next, they are in the classroom. In this scenario, they have to choose if they're going to work really hard on every single question during the test, or if they're going to just not work quite as hard and leave a lot of the questions blank. Again, they are met with the consequences of their actions, and as you can see, also the environment is adjusted based on how they are, which one they choose. So then finally, there is if you should go and socialize with your friends, or if you should rest for the night and restore your energy. All right, and that is the end of the VR experience. Oh, and then, sorry, this is where you are faced with the overall consequences of which choices you decided to make. So if you decided to prioritize socializing and going out with friends, or then you will think about how you didn't try as hard on school, or you didn't take care of yourself as much. Then the next one is if you decided to focus on school, then you have to face the fact that you didn't end up socializing with your friends at all, and you didn't take care of yourself. And then the last one is just if you decided to take care of yourself and prioritize yourself, then you didn't pay as much attention to your friends or your school, and it's just basically there is no good ending to this story. It is just you are just faced with the consequences of whichever choice you couldn't make. So, and that is the end of the presentation. Any questions?
So one question I have is the target of the product is the person which may be going through depression, or is raising awareness to people in general about what others which may be suffering from depression are going through?
Yeah, so our target audience for this was mostly people that have someone with depression in their lives. So for example, like parents or employers or those types of people that have someone with depression in their lives and they don't quite understand what it is like.
Okay. And how would you distribute this?
We're planning to distribute this, I guess, probably through like Facebook groups and things like that, or potentially through like employer groups. And yeah, so it's just supposed to contact as many or let it be available to as many people as possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
Any questions from the audience, maybe?
Oh, I just have a comment, Simon. This is a fantastic job that you guys have done, all of you. Of course, Catherine, the last group, did a great job, but more generally, the entire group, this is a first year student project. And I have to say, when I suggested this project, I didn't know what we're going to get at the other end, but you should really all be proud of the effort that you have put in. You have put a lot of effort, took it to so many directions, and just well done.
It's very hard to judge it because there are many innovation areas.
Right, right. And I leave that to the judges to judge, but I just wanted to comment as a client that the students took it really at heart and took it so many directions and so many ways, and yeah, well done.
Yeah, that was indeed a comment I was going to make, is that judges are going to have a really hard time judging this category. And yeah, and I when I was first when I first learned of this project, it was I was skeptical about it. I wasn't sure, but really that I am very, very impressed with the way it turned out, just in general. So yes, congratulations to everyone. And it is good that we are a little ahead of time, because I think the judges are going to need more time than typically is scheduled for deliberating. So I will stop the recording now, and